Hello, Claire Attek here, and I'm delighted that you are joining me today for another one of my financially focused training sessions. And today we are talking all about getting paid, such an important topic for all of us. Now, I'm going to be giving you some of my top tips to make sure that you do get paid in your business, that it becomes a priority for you. And I am also going to talk about some of the technicalities on how you'll pay yourself, depending on whether you are set up as a sole trader or a limited company. Now, paying yourself is so important, but it's often one of the things that's neglected by small business owners, especially in their first year of trading. And I will actually put my hand up and say, when I set up my bricks and mortar business several years ago, I didn't actually pay myself for the first year. I was so focused on the business activities and getting everything started that I just didn't even think about paying myself, and it wasn't one of my priorities. But this was a huge mistake, and I don't want you making the same mistake too. I often hear excuses like, I'm going to reinvest it all back into the business. Now we'll touch on that one a little bit later. Or, I'm not really sure how it all works, how to set myself up and pay myself. Or even, I don't really know how much I pay myself. And being a small business owner, we're all too good at putting those decisions off to a later point, and then we never actually get round to thinking about it. Now, when we're thinking about paying ourselves, it's worth going all the way back to the why. Why did you set up your business? A lot of people set up their business to give them greater control and flexibility over their life. They want to help somebody or put their products and services out there to make other people's lives better. But the number one reason I'm given by most business owners is that they want financial security. Now let's just think about that. If you want the financial security to live that life that you want for you and your family, you're not going to be able to achieve this if you're not prioritising paying yourself from the money you earn in your business. You've also got to remember that carrying personal financial worries can place a huge burden on you and your family, and it can compromise the quality of the decisions you make both in your personal and business lives. So it's really important to prioritise that pay to you. Now, paying yourself is actually a habit, and I want you to make it a good habit right from the word go. I want to make sure that you pay yourself regularly and in a steady way, however much or little that may be. Now, if finances are tight in your business, I want you to try and set aside just a small amount of money, even just 1% of your revenues. Pop that to one side to pay yourself. Pop it into a separate account. Now, if the 1% becomes doable, stretch it up to 2%, 3%. And as your business grows and more money is made, then increase this amount so that you're rewarding all your hard work. It may seem like a small amount of money that you're putting to one side, but that doesn't matter. It will soon add up, and you have started a really good habit in regularly paying yourself, which will stand you in great stead for the future. Now, you will notice in what I have just said that I have said to pay yourself first. Now, this goes against quite a traditional way of how people normally pay themselves. Normally, they'll take the income into their business, they will make all the payments that they need to make for all the expenses they've incurred, and then whatever's left, they will think about paying themselves. I'm saying to you, reverse this, put that on its head. I want you to think about you as being one of the most important things in your business, and being one of the most important things, you need to prioritise pay to yourself to make sure that you can keep going and stay viable. But I can hear some of you saying, but what happens if I take my pay out of my income and then I don't have enough left to pay my expenses? Now, this is where something kicks in called Parkinson's law. Now, Parkinson's law states that you will always utilise the time you've got available to complete a task. Now, if we just revise that a little bit, taking into account money as our resource instead of time, it basically says that the costs that you incur will fill the amount of money that you've got available. This means that if you start to constrict the amount of money that you've got available, you will naturally become much more focused on those expenses that you incur running your business, and you will adjust them accordingly. However, if you are paying yourself last out of whatever is left after all those expenses are taken, this will naturally be a very, very small pot, because those expenses that you incur running your business will fill that money that you've got available. Now, this concept of paying yourself first and prioritising your pay follows the principles set out in a book called Profit First by Michalowicz, in which he explores the different priorities in your business and the order in which payments should be made, and also has practical suggestions on how to make sure money is put aside to cover all those essential costs of running your business. It's a great read. I'll pop a link in the comments. Have a look if this is something that interests you. So, how do you actually pay yourself? Now, this is a common question that I often get from small business owners, and the answer depends very much on how you are set up legally in terms of whether or not you're a sole trader or a limited company, for example. I'll chat through some of the main considerations for each. So I'm going to start with the sole trader, as this is a little bit more straightforward. So a sole trader takes money out of their company through what is called drawings. Now, this can be a simple transfer from their business account to their personal account. There is no legal separate identity when you're talking about sole traders. If you haven't got a separate business account, now is the time to get it. It makes things so much more straightforward. And if you are ever investigated by HMRC, you want to make sure that you can really differentiate your personal and business expenses. Now, you report your income to HMRC once a year through a process called self-assessment. Now, this is a form that you fill in. The deadline to complete is the 31st of January following the tax year in which you are reporting. And any tax that is due will be due when you complete that form. So your tax is paid once a year typically. It can be twice a year, but generally once a year for smaller businesses. And you will notice that there might be quite a big gap between you taking money out of the business for you to enjoy in your personal life and you paying your income tax and national insurance. For that reason, I would plan ahead so you don't get any big nasty surprises of huge tax liabilities coming up once a year at the end of the year, quite a long time after you've enjoyed the pay. Pop aside that tax at the time that you take the money, and then it will be sat in an account ready to pay the taxman when it becomes due. Now, I've got a download for this episode. I will pop a link in the comments, and that has some suggested amounts of how much to put aside to save up for that tax bill. Now, if you are operating under a limited company, the pay structure is quite different. You will typically pay yourself a combination of a salary and dividends, and the salary will be paid through a PAYE system, which is reported through to HMRC via RTI, real-time information payroll submissions. Now, this might sound quite complex. Please don't let it worry you. There's a lot of free software and free guidance available to help you with that payroll process. So please try not to worry if this sounds all very complex to you. Now, every time that you make a payment to yourself through the PAYE system, you will be taxed at source. This means that the tax is taken away from you so you don't get one big lump sum payment to make at one point during the year. Now, the tax office will make an approximation of how much tax you need to pay, depending on your circumstances, and that will be represented in a code which gets put into the payroll system. It all calculates it for you and will automatically deduct how much that you owe. There may be a slight balancing figure, but it's nothing like the sole traders where their entire liability becomes due at one point in the year. Now, whether or not you are operating as a sole trader or a limited company or whatever legal structure you have, the number one rule applies to everybody. Keep really good records of your pay and how you've paid yourself, when you've paid yourself, and so on. This is really important if HMRC ever have any questions. It's unlikely to happen, but it's a legal requirement that you keep those records, and you need to make sure that they're complete, clear, and easy to understand. Now, just before I go, I did mention at the beginning of the episode the concept of reinvesting money back into your business. Now, this is an excuse I hear all too often as to why people haven't paid themselves. They say very nobly that they are reinvesting all the money back into their business to help it grow. Now, I want to challenge you if you are using this as an excuse not to pay yourself. Now, if you've paid yourself your regular wage and there is some money left, and that money is genuinely being reinvested back into your business, i.e. that you know that by investing that money there will be a certain return on that investment and that will help the business grow, then great. But if you are simply reinvesting that money, which is actually going to be soaked up by your running costs of your business in the following year, this isn't a reinvestment. This is just purely a inefficient way of running your business. And I would challenge you not to do that. You need to make sure that you are paying yourself what you are owed. And then you need to make sure that your expenses for running your business are adjusted accordingly. So that brings me to the end of this training session. I hope you now fully understand the importance of paying yourself. Please don't let it be something that you put on a back burner and worry about another day. It's so important that you're prioritizing your pay, that you make sure that your payments are regular and steady, and that you are enjoying the hard work that you are putting into your business to give you that financial security. Now, if you've got any questions at all, please don't hesitate to ask me. As I mentioned, there is a download that goes with this episode. I'll pop a link in the comments. It's available on the website. Have a read through. There's also some extra numbers in terms of how much tax to put aside and so on, depending how you're set up. So hopefully something that will be quite useful to you. Really great talking to you. I will be back again, same time, same place next week for another financially focused topic. And in the meantime, have a good week and bye for now.